I'm going to keep the discussion on descriptive statistics very brief. This is just a recap of things that you learn in statistics. The first things that I would like to emphasize is that students tend to pay more attention to inferential statistics such as t-value, p-value, but what's important is uh, to describe the actual statistic such as mean, standard deviation first, because that is the data. That's the objective data. In the results sections are described using central tendency and variability. Recall that central tendency is the central or most typical value for the distribution. So it's mean, median, or mode. So you need to pay attention which of these mean, median, and mode is most appropriate given the situations. The variability is very important because it provides some information about the nature of the data. The lack of variability implies that it can be seeding or flow effect. Too much variability may include that there is some measurement errors. The most typical variability measure that uh, you use in descriptive statistic is standard deviation. Central tendency. This is a complete recap of statistics. Mean is the average score across the sample. Median is the score that divides the entire data set in equal halves. Mode is the most frequent score. The variability is how scattered or spread the data distribution is, and expressed with range, variance, or standard deviation. The standard deviation is the most common way of describing the variability of your data. And standard deviation is the average distance of all the score points in the data from the sample mean. You remember from statistics, what's the central tendency or variability measure that's appropriate for your data set is determined by the measurement scale. And also the measurement scale is going to affect what is an appropriate table or graphs that you can use for the descriptive statistics. So here's the two examples. The number one, the left side is the exam performance as a function of room temperature. So there are two conditions. There are a total of seven participants, three in high temperature and four in the low temperature conditions. And the variable is dependent variable is exam score. So this is an interval scale. So therefore, you need to think about what is a kind of table or chart that's appropriate for this case, which we're going to talk about. Okay. The next one, the right side is actually the lecture rating as a function of stress conditions. So the rating is a categorical ordinal variable such as poor, average, good. Okay. So here, high stress condition and low stress condition. There are three subjects for high and four subjects for low stress conditions. So how you are going to describe this data? We will talk about that in the next slide. Two tables corresponding to the data that's described in presented in the previous slide. The left side is exam performance as a function of room temperature. And the table contains four cells. The mean, because this is an interval scale, the appropriate central tendency measure is a mean, and a mean for low temperature condition, and a mean for the high temperature condition. You also need to provide standard deviation for low and high temperature condition. Okay. And the next one is actually the right side. So in this case, the variable was the ordinal variable of poor, average, or good rating. So for the low stress condition, you provide the frequency because you cannot compute the mean across poor, average, good because these are ordinal scale. So frequency of poor rating is once, average rating is twice for low stress. On the other hand, for the high stress condition, Poor happen once, average happen once, and good happen twice. Also, provide chart or graphs. So in this case, so the left side, I'm sorry, exam performance as a function, room temperature, low and high temperature condition is the grouping variable. And because these are categorical variable, you need to create a bar graph, not a histogram. So it's separated by the gap. And two bars indicate the mean. So the 82 and 69.2 are the mean rating, mean exam scores for each condition. You also indicate the standard deviation using error. Okay, and the right side is the frequency of different rating as a function of stress condition. So poor, average, good, and so these are indicated by pie chart. Okay, and then also yeah, for the high stress condition as well. I'd like to draw your attention to description or label of charts or data table. Okay, I often see that people are not considerate enough in providing enough details about what your data is actually showing in the table. So at the minimum, you have to provide what's the variable, which is y, and what's the way in which it's categorized. It's typically x-axis if it's a graphs, and if it's a table, how it's actually separated. Also important is what is the unit that's used to describe the data. For example, if it's a reaction time, is it a millisecond or millisecond per word? And so it's better to provide more details than less details if you're not sure, because that's going to help readers understand your table or chart better.